Some creatures emerge from the sinkholes that have been hibernating for thousands of years in Colorado. Many nations have called the military, but the bullets merely hinder the creatures and not stop them. People living at high altitude have reported that the creatures stopped at 8,000 feet. Most of the people lost their lives, but those who managed to stay above 8,000 feet above stayed alive. 300 years later, in a small town nestled in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado at an elevation of around 8,460 feet, a boy named Hunter lived with his father, Will. The town had a tiny population of just 193 people, and Hunter was the only child there. One day, while exploring the mountains near the 7,740-foot mark, Hunter heard a strange creature sound echoing through the rocks. Panicked, he ran for his life and barely made it past the 8,000-foot boundary to safety. Hunter often ventured below the line to catch a better view of the Red Rock settlement and revisit the place where he last saw his mother. The townspeople held meetings to discuss survival strategies and occasionally sent search parties below the line to gather essential supplies. Will used to spend time with his friend Katie. At night, Hunter was plagued by dreams about his mother, haunted by memories of her absence. On his birthday, Will wanted to make it special, so he arranged a barter trade to get Hunter's favorite meal, mac and cheese. Hunter often relied on oxygen filters to help him breathe in the high-altitude air. One day, he was down to his last filter. Determined to find more, Will decided to venture below the 8,000-foot mark to search for supplies. He approached Nina, a fellow resident of the town, who had survived a trip below the line before. However, Nina hesitated, insisting that her survival was purely luck. Will explained that he had carefully mapped a route to Boulder, a city rumored to have an abundance of medical supplies. The journey would require crossing the line twice, but Will was confident they could succeed. Will also pointed out that Nina had spent years studying the creatures that roam below the line. If she could return to their old lab, he believed she might find a way to kill them for good. Reluctantly, Nina began to consider his plan. The next morning, Will prepared to leave and asked one of the residents to look after Hunter while he was gone. When Katie learned of his plan, she insisted on accompanying him. Will didn't want her to risk her life, but Katie was determined. With no other choice, Will bid farewell to Hunter. All three, Will, Katie, and Nina, met to discuss their plan. Nina explained that bullets were ineffective against the creatures unless they hit them directly in the face, and even then, it only slowed them down for a few seconds. Cautious, they began their journey. Nina carried a watch-like instrument that monitored the creature's presence. It tracked bioelectromagnetism, as the creatures emitted much stronger magnetic fields than humans. When a creature was within half a mile, the needle would detect it. Eventually, they reached the 8,000-foot mark. After checking the needle for safety, they moved forward, finding a site with crashed army jeeps. Nina handed the instrument to Katie while she and Will searched the area. They found ammunition, flare guns, and even a grenade launcher. Tension rose between Katie and Nina, as Katie blamed Nina for the death of Will's wife, her best friend, who had died on a supply run with Nina. Only Nina had made it back alive. Their unresolved enmity erupted into an argument, but Will calmed them down, urging them to focus on survival. After some time, they reached a base. Will pointed to a mountain ahead, explaining that if they climbed it, they'd be above the 8,000-foot mark and safe. They could walk there in 15 minutes, or he could try to get an old chairlift working. Suddenly, Nina's instrument picked up movement. Creatures were approaching. Red glows appeared through the forest as the creatures closed in. Katie urged everyone to run toward the mountain, but Nina yelled that they wouldn't make it in time. Will and Nina ran to fix the chairlift, while Katie kept running, doubting the lift would work. Will climbed the tower to check the battery, while Nina and Katie aimed at the approaching creatures to slow them down. As Will worked, Katie fired a grenade at the creatures, but missed. Another shot hit, but only enraged them, causing one to charge toward them. Katie ran toward the mountain. Just then, Will managed to fix the lift. Nina turned it on, jumped into a chair, and Will quickly followed. Katie climbed another tower to reach the lift, while Nina fired at the creature, trying to buy time. As the chairlift passed near Katie, she leaped onto it, barely hanging on. Will grabbed her hand and pulled her up, but the creature grabbed the cable, throwing their balance off. The lift's cable snapped, and they all fell to the ground, but they were close to the 8,000-foot mark. Scrambling to their feet, they crossed the mark and reached safety. At 8,209 feet, the group spent the night at an abandoned resort lodging. Katie was shaken, still grappling with the fact that the grenades had no effect on the creature. During a quiet moment, Will turned to Nina, asking if she had noticed anything unusual about the creatures during her 3 years of research. Nina hesitated before explaining. The first thing those creatures did was wipe out 95% of the world's population in just a month. They don't stop to eat or sleep. Predators kill to eat, but these creatures, they kill simply because they want to. That night, Will had a vivid hallucination of his wife. In his mind, he shared his concerns about Nina. He believed she might know a way to kill the creatures, but suspected her motives. He believed Nina wanted to be the first person to achieve it, and might prioritize this over focusing on finding filters for Hunter. His wife reassured him, saying she trusted Nina and urged him to have faith as well. The next morning, the group resumed their journey. After some time, they arrived at the entrance to the Calway mine. Will explained that if they entered the mine, they would emerge at level 8, which was above the 8,000-foot mark. However, Nina objected, warning that mines were rarely straightforward and could lead them below the safe mark. Will's silence confirmed her fears. Part of the tunnel would take them below the line. Nina was disappointed and frustrated that Will hadn't told them earlier. Will tried to justify his decision, stating that they would only be below the line for 231 yards. Nina was still upset, reminding them that the creatures originated underground and could detect even the faintest exhalation of CO2. Despite her reservations, they decided to proceed, given the limited distance. As they navigated the tunnel, they reached a dead end. The path ahead was welded shut. Trapped, Will suggested descending to level 7, despite it being 1,000 yards below the safe line. Though reluctant, the group had no other choice. Once on level 7, they started walking cautiously, but the silence was shattered by an eerie noise. It was one of the creatures. They ran, but the creature was relentless. Will fired his gun, but the bullets had no effect. Finding a small path, they hid, only to discover it was blocked. Will continued shooting at the creature, but Nina warned that it could track them through CO2. To avoid detection, they held their breath and turned off their lights as the creature searched the area with its tentacles. The tension was unbearable, and they were running out of air. Thinking quickly, Will lit a flare and threw it to distract the creature. As the creature chased the light, they finally exhaled. The flare's glow revealed that the rocks blocking their path could be removed. Katie began clearing the way and crawled through to the other side. However, as soon as she emerged, another creature attacked, dragging her away before Will or Nina could react. Helpless, they could only watch as Katie was taken. Devastated but with no time to grieve, they continued running and found a ladder leading out of the mine. They climbed to safety above the 8,000-foot mark. Once outside, Nina silently prayed for Katie, and she and Will pushed forward, determined to complete their journey. After traveling continuously for 2 days, Will and Nina decided to spend the night in an abandoned house. Outside, they noticed a parked truck they could use to quickly cover the next stretch of their journey. While eating, Will expressed his regret about bringing Katie along, blaming himself for her death. Nina, lost in thought, shared something she had observed back in the mines near the creature's tentacle. She realized that the creatures primarily defend themselves using their tentacle. If they could craft bullets using magnesium oxide, it might penetrate the creature's tough skin. She remembered that her old science lab had a supply of magnesium oxide and suggested heading there after collecting Hunter's medicine. Still shaken by Katie's death, Will questioned Nina's theory, sarcastically taunting her for believing in some magic bullet to kill the creatures. However, Nina was resolute in her confidence. The next morning, they used the truck to reach a nearby hospital, abandoned for the past 3 years. After searching through the eerie halls, they finally found Hunter's medicine in an operating room. Just as they were about to leave, Nina's instrument detected a creature nearby. They fled through the back exit, but the creature attacked, its tentacle grabbing Will. Acting quickly, Nina used an axe to sever the tentacle and free him. Realizing the creature wouldn't stop pursuing them, Will came up with a plan. He waited for the creature to enter the operating room, then shot a gas tank, causing a massive explosion that hurled the creature outside. Knowing they had bought themselves some time while the creature recovered, Will and Nina seized the moment to escape. Will suggested returning to their colony, but Nina refused. She insisted they go to her lab so she could craft magnesium oxide bullets for her research. Seeing Will's hesitation and fear, Nina promised they wouldn't stay long. However, she firmly believed her theory could be the key to reclaiming Earth and protecting Hunter from the creatures forever. They can't let Katie's death be in vain. Reluctantly, Will agreed. Driving further, they arrived at Nina's science lab. Nina quickly gathered magnesium oxide and other chemicals to start crafting the bullets, while Will stood guard at the entrance with his gun. As she worked, Nina opened up about her past. When the creatures first attacked, she had been in this very lab. Meanwhile, her family was killed at home. She never got the chance to save them or even say goodbye. Fleeing to the mountains, she carried the guilt of her survival and channeled it into studying the creature's weaknesses for the past 3 years. Her work, she said, was her way of avenging her family and reclaiming the home filled with their memories and photos. While perfecting the bullets, Nina realized the process would take time. She explained to Will that she would need to stay in the lab longer to complete her research. She urged him to take the medicine back to Hunter, promising to join him soon once her work was done. Pointing to a second vehicle in the lab, Nina reassured Will she would follow shortly. Though reluctant, Will understood her determination and drove back to the colony in the pickup truck, carrying the medicine for Hunter. Nina, still engrossed in her research, discovered a new method to complete the magnesium bullets more quickly. Fueled by determination, she set to work, but her progress was interrupted when a creature noticed her presence and attacked the lab. She narrowly escaped, taking her completed bullets with her. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Will's journey took a dire turn. One of his car tires burst, causing him to lose control and crash the vehicle into a rock while trying to escape another creature. Left with no choice, he grabbed the medicine and began climbing on foot, knowing his son's life depended on it. As Will pushed forward, the creature cornered him. Out of bullets and options, he fired his last shots, fully accepting his fate. Just as the creature lunged to strike, it suddenly exploded from behind. Will turned to see Nina, armed with her perfected bullets, which she explained were designed to exploit the creature's radioactive properties. The new ammunition could penetrate their skin and cause them to detonate from within. As they examined the remains of the destroyed creature, Nina revealed a shocking discovery from her research. These creatures are not natural beings. They were bioengineered by alien life forms, specifically to attack Earth. She explained that the creatures were programmed to target humans, leaving other life forms untouched. However, due to a flaw in their programming, the creatures couldn't survive above 8,000 feet, which explained their limitations and the mountain community's relative safety. With this revelation, Nina and Will realized they held a weapon and the knowledge to fight back and protect what was left of humanity. Will and Nina returned to their colony, where Will joyfully reunited with his son, bringing both the much-needed medicine and a solution to defeat the creatures. Nina quickly took charge, signaling neighboring colonies with a flag to announce the discovery of the creature's weakness. Word spread rapidly, and soon the survivors began broadcasting instructions on how to modify bullets to exploit the creature's radioactive vulnerabilities. Communities banded together, mass-producing the new ammunition. To honor Katie's sacrifice, they engraved her name on a bullet, a symbol of their determination. Together, they vowed to reclaim Earth. Armed with their new weaponry, humanity launched an all-out offensive against the creatures, hunting them down one by one. Slowly but surely, they began to take back their planet, finding strength in unity and hope for a brighter future. One quiet evening, just as victory seemed within reach, Nina and Will noticed something unsettling. In the distance, 3 UFOs descended from the sky, landing on Earth. The aliens who had engineered the creatures were now arriving themselves, signaling the beginning of an even greater conflict. And the movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out these awesome movie recap videos. Subscribe the Explanation Pro for our upcoming videos.